Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to Sunday School. That's what we're going to call the new feature for our Sunday program here. And I appreciate all you guys and your really all the great different suggestions that we got from you guys. I appreciate it. It means a lot to me. The one that kind of stood out to me and that I think got the most. I think got the people the most excited was Sunday School. So we're gonna call it Sunday School with Rod Babers. So thank you. I believe Aaron was the one that came up with Sunday School. But appreciate you guys really in your participation and all of the suggestions you guys gave for the name of the show. All right. So on this edition of Sunday School, we're going to dive into my favorite transfer portal acquisition, I guess, so far, because Texas may not be done, even though they've made a lot of splashes in the transfer portal. The transfer portal, give it and it take it away. We'll talk about one of the acquisitions that the Longhorns got via the transfer portal. It's got me really excited. Also, and we'll get into some of the, I think the byproducts, if you will, of this latest acquisition for the Longhorns and what it could mean. So we'll go deep down that rabbit hole. Before we get started, let me thank our sponsor. Before we get started here, our friends over at Von Lane, folks. If you've tried driving through the state of Texas to the major Texas cities, whether it be Houston to Dallas or Austin to Dallas or Austin to Houston, you know what a stressful right situation that can be. Our friends over at Von Lane, folks, they're going to take the stress out of traveling to the major Texas cities. Let's face it, flying is a bit of a hassle. Security lines, packed gates, delayed flights, all for what? An hour flight is not worth it. The stress levels will thank you later for our friends over at Von Lane. If you try driving to the major Texas cities, that's also a bit of a pain because you can deal with the day-to-day traffic. You got emails piling up, lost productivity, calls going unanswered, work left undone, all while trying to deal with traffic on the road. Why waste the day when you can stay connected and productive with Von Lane? Von Lane changes everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels, sink into a plush leather seat with a leg rest, stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi, complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures as well. If you need to freshen up, you can enjoy hot towel service. And if you want to relax, they have eye masks and pillows and blankets to keep you cozy. Von Lane and their fantastic team will take care of every detail, allowing you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the most luxurious travel experience in the state of Texas. And if you're planning a special trip, guys trip, gals trip, maybe just a business trip, football game, concert, or special event, you can charter your own Von Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. That's Von Lane. It's first-class travel without the hassle. See for yourself. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. Use the promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip with our friends over at Von Lane. And we appreciate their support of On Texas Football and their support of our new program, Sunday School with Rod Babers. So I appreciate them. All right, let's get right to it, guys. The news broke not too long ago, earlier this week, maybe I should say last week, that Jack Endries, the tight end out of Cal, he is going to be Longhorn coming up for the 2025 season. I was a bit concerned about the tight end position overall. On the record, I'd said at best it's an uncertain, unproven position for you. And at worst, it could be a bit of a crisis. I mean, you could have a dire situation considering you're at a injury to Jordan Washington, so that stunted a little bit of his development. You got a lot of young guys getting snaps now, freshmen like Amari Winston. Still got Nick Townsend that's going to come on. We haven't heard much about Spencer Shannon and his development at all. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I don't know if it's a good thing either. And you haven't had this much uncertainty at the tight end position probably since, and this, I would say, inexperience as well since 2022. Right, when Sark first came in, he ended up inheriting a couple of veteran guys in Cade Brewer and Jared Wiley, inherited those guys, and he still hadn't weaponized the tight end position. But the last couple of years, we've seen him maximize the productivity at the tight end position. So it is, probably was an easy sales pitch. And I said that too, right? Jack Endries, hey, you want to catch passes from a Manning? Go look at the last two tight ends who are both about to be drafted into the NFL and go look at their productivity productivity on the 40 acres compared to what you've done there at Cal with an offense that is a limited offense, all right, but he was highly productive in that offense, and so I think he's going to be a player that could potentially break out here for Longhorns. And how could he not? I mean, you look at what Sark, and Sark calls it, these are Sark's words, by the way. Sark says the tight end position is the second most important position in his offense behind quarterback. It was such a shocking statement when he said it that I never forgot it, because I always bring it up. Like, he said that it's the second most important position, because I've never heard anybody say that. I've never heard any coach reference tight end. Usually they'll go left tackle and go wide receiver. No, Sark says in his offense, tight. And I think it's something about the fusion of the physical pro style principles and the spread ideology. And I believe the force that fuses those together, the physical play action, the physical pro style play action pass principles that I think Sark loves in his offense, but also the spread ideology, which, Sark's a big fan of. He likes to spread things out. The tight end is really the piece that allows you to do that. And I think that's why Sark said that. I don't think anybody asked him to follow up. That'd be one of my follow-up questions if I ever got a chance to sit down with Sark. But let's get into it. So Jack Endries and I'll tell you what I like about him first, and then we'll get into how important the tight end position is at Texas based on some of my research. But what I like about him is that there are a lot of things that are comparable to, and the way he was utilized, to Gunnar Helm and Gunnar Helm's, how he was weaponized here in Sark's offense. And, the first thing is yak, because Sark has a yak offense. He talks about how he has a run to daylight philosophy. That means he wants quarterbacks to be accurate, hit receivers on the move. He has stated several times he does not necessarily like stop routes. He likes movement routes. Movement routes are routes the receivers are catching the ball whilst they are already running on the move. And he wants accurate quarterbacks to deliver the ball on the money and thus, boom, producing yak, right? So he likes yak daddies. Jack Endries got a little yak daddy in him. And that's the beautiful thing about Gunnar Helm. We didn't know Gunnar Helm was a yak daddy. 56% of his yards came after the catch. And he's out there hurdling guys, but when Gunnar Helm got the ball in his hands, it was athleticism that I didn't expect. I'll say that. And that, just me personally, I didn't expect to see it. And it jumps off the film to you when Gunnar Helm actually gets the ball in his hands. Same thing with Jack Endries. 53% of his yards came after the catch. It's a bit of a yak daddy, and he'll be schemed open even more in Sark's offense. Now, Jake Spavital is a good offensive mind too, but like I said, that Cal offense was limited. He'll be weaponized even more in Sark's offense. There'll be even more opportunity because there'll be other guys who'll be taking up the attention. He was one of the featured, if not the featured piece of the passing game for them. In Texas, he'll be third. He'll be third, maybe even fourth in terms of the threats to the defense, and that's why Gunnar Helm just exploded last season, right? There were so many other weapons that defenses had to account for. Matthew Golden, speed of Isaiah Bond, right? We got DeAndre Moore we got to worry about. You got to worry about the running, all these other things. Like, well, Gunnar Helm's a little bit low on the priority list, and out of nowhere, by midseason, you have to prioritize Gunnar Helm or defending Gunnar Helm. I think Jack Endries can have that kind of impact. Also, I like that. And if you look at this guy, Jack Endries, just a quick little nugget on him. Fifth best Pro Football Focus grade, fifth best receiving grade of tight ends by Pro Football Focus. He leads all returning Power 4 tight ends in receiving yards since 2023. I think sixth overall in the FBS, but among Power 4 tight ends, I mean, he's one of the best returning tight ends. And one thing that he does well that you didn't get with Gunnar Helm, his contested catch ability. He was 9 of 12 on contested catches last season. He's 7 of 15, I believe, he was 16 of 27 on contested catches his entire career. It's close to 60%, it's 59, over 59%. He's really good in contested catch situations. Gunnar Helm never really had a lot of those because he was schemed wide open a lot of times. He was 3 of 8 in his career on contested catches. But that's one thing about Jack Endries, that you end up in a scramble drill with an Arch Manning or hey, your guy, he's got to catch in a really tight window under duress. He can do it. That's one of the things that I think I can actually separated him from Gunnar Helm. Another thing about that offense that he played in, I watched film on Jack Endries. A lot of crossing routes, a lot of over the middle stuff, like work in the middle. Right, so the boxing coach would say, "Hey, work the middle. All right, get them jabs in, work the body." He delivered a lot of body blows to opponents. That's what Gunnar Helm was good at. Gunnar Helm was good. You go look at Gunnar Helm's just basically his receiving chart, I should say. 515 yards over the middle between the numbers. Work the middle. He was killing teams over the middle. He had 786 yards, 515 of them right over the middle. That's 65%. Jack Endries was at 75%. You go look at how many of Helm's targets between the numbers. I believe it was 51. 51 targets came between the numbers out of his 73. That's 69%. Jack Endries was at 75%. So I'm sure Sark is looking at how he's utilizing, saying, hey, that is some of the same concepts we run. They loved running him on crossing routes, drag routes, short, intermediate, deeper drags, delayed releases coming across the middle. They loved that at Cal, and Sark loves it too. I went and looked at the receiving chart, or at least the route tree for Gunnar Helm. And Gunnar Helm, 28% of Gunnar Helm's routes were crossing routes. It was the most of any route on the route tree. I think outs were over 20% too. So basically, he was in 50% of the time. He's either going to drag or he's going right out. As a defender, you should know that, right? You should be if you're defending Gunnar Helm, there's no need to really defend the deep. He only had 4 targets past 20 yards. Same thing about Jack Endries. Jack Endries only had 1 target in his entire career past 20 yards. Gunnar Helm last season had only 4 targets past 20 yards. So Sark's he's not utilizing his tight end to stretch the field, to run the seam and try to get some of those deeper targets. No, he just wants you to work the middle, kind of body shots. And that's exactly how Jack Endries was used at Cal. One thing to keep in mind. So I do like that commonality between the two. I think he's compatible with the Sark offense. Also, Sark's tight ends are going to move a lot, and he moved a lot with Cal. They're going to move a lot, and not only in terms of their alignment. Gunnar Helm was in line 68% of the time last season, 22% of the time in the slot. He was out wide 9% of the time. So Sark moved him around a ton. Same thing with Jack Endries. He's in line 38% of the time, he's in the slot 41% of the time, out wide 5% of the time. You can use him in a lot of places, which also means you put him in motion a lot. One thing to remember about Sark's tight ends, which is why I think usually you don't see very young, inexperienced tight ends play a lot in Sark's offense. I mean, think about it, right? JT had to wait a little year till he learned the offense. Gunnar Helm they brought along slowly. They brought in some tight ends from other schools in transfer portal. Jaleel Billingsley and Amari Nyblack, guys never really made a huge impact, right? And even you go look at the Cade Brewer and Jared Wiley who inherited. They were better in tight ends, but he didn't use them a lot. Hell, they only had 39 targets between both of them. And when he gets to the point where he's allocating like 80 plus targets to the tight end position overall, which is where he's been the last 2 years, 85 and 84 targets to the tight end position. That's when he's got veteran tight ends that know the offense and that know the nuances of the offense. There's a lot of pre-snap movement with Sark's offense, and a lot of it from the tight end position. I went and dug up this stat from JT Sanders' days, but when JT Sanders was the tight end for Texas in 2022, right? In 2022 and 2023, but in 2022 specifically, almost 15% of his snaps, he was in motion. It was one of the highest snap motion rates for any player in the Power 5 conferences at the time. In terms of most snaps in motion, he was in the top 5. So he moves that tight end around a ton, turns him into an H-back sometimes, puts him out in the slot, a lot of different things. He would actually do that cheat motion at times where they're running toward the sideline, and then when the ball is snapped, it's a snap at the motion. He would even do that with JT Sanders in the run game and in the pass game. So I think that's a lot of times why he likes a veteran tight end who he knows can absorb the material or is at least familiar with the system. I think kid out of Cal, who's had 2 really productive years. I think Sark's assuming, he'll be able to pick up the offense and the subtle nuances of the offense. All right, so that's what they have in common, right? And so I think my prediction is I think he'll be highly productive in Sark's offense. He is right now. He's a walk-in starter, in my opinion. And then you'll bring on a guy like Jordan Washington, who, like I said, his development got a little bit, stunted, but you can bring him along. You got Spencer Shannon as well. And something tells me Spencer Shannon might end up taking up like a Juan Davis role. How often has Sark had 2 tight ends that are both adequate blockers? And by the way, he's never really had a plus blocker at tight end. I mean, it's somebody who's really good at blocking in the run game and the pass game. Usually they're good, like Jack Endries and Gunnar Helm, both really good, adequate pass blockers. You look at Gunnar Helm's pass blocking grade, 66.9. Jack Endries' pass blocking grade in 2024 was 77. But look at that run blocking grade. Jack Endries had 48. The run blocking grade for Gunnar Helm, and Gunnar Helm, I think, was an adequate blocker, but still, I don't know if he was a plus blocker in the run game. He's a 45 run blocking grade. They're not going to bring you much in terms of run blocking. Pass blocking, they're adequate, but you don't want Jack Endries sitting in pass blocking too much. That's probably going to be a Spencer Shannon that's in pass blocking, just like it was a Warren Davis. So he hasn't really had. He has one tight end that he thinks is a plus blocker on the field, and then one who's a plus receiver. Right, that's an additive and actually a threat in the receiving game, and that has been the case at least the last 3 years. Right, JT Sanders was your pass threat in 2022. Gunnar Helm was, the other blocker. All right, 2023, same thing, because you only had for Gunnar Helm in those 2 years he had 22 total targets, just like Juan Davis had 12 targets this year. Davis ain't no threat in the passing game, but Sark said he liked Juan Davis as a blocker. And honestly, we know that because he said he stopped using the 6-0 line package because he liked Juan Davis. He thought the 6-0 line package was a bit of a waste of time. And we'll get to that in a second because he thought, oh, no, Juan is such a good blocker, such a dependable blocker, we can go with him. So I think this year you might get the same trend unless Jordan Washington really starts to ascend. And then we're talking about a different type of offense altogether. Then you're talking about an offense with 2 receiving threats. Now, I don't know if Jordan Washington or if Jack Endries are going to improve that much as run blockers. That's your big question, because you have not had a guy. That's why I think the future of the tight end position is really bright for Texas. Because you're bringing in guys. You talk about a guy like Nick Townsend coming in. Amari Winston's already getting some snaps. I think his goal is, who knows what's going to happen with Michael Terry, but his goal is, I think, to have a tight end, a 5-tool tight end that can be a plus blocker and a passing threat, a threat in the passing game, and then kind of transform the tight end position at Texas. But let's talk about last time Texas had uncertainty and unproven commodities at tight end. That was 2022. Because Cade Brewer and Jared Wiley, they were going after that, and all you had was young Gunnar Helm and young JT Sanders, and they had no experience at all. Same thing here, right? Now you're bringing in Jack Endries, but still hasn't been in this system, like I said. But my prediction is he's going to be a productive passing threat for you. But the last time Texas didn't have a tight end, Sark said that he went to the 6-0 line package, the Big 11, Big 12 package, because, you know what, we needed some tight end depth. He actually, those are his words. I think it was more to have variety, and there was some things that he couldn't achieve with normal 12 personnel, traditional 12. So he wanted to go to 6 offensive linemen. But one thing that stood out in 2022, just my study of the team, they had a lot of personnel diversity that season. Because Sark's baby is 11 personnel, 1 back, 1 tight end. 50+% of the time, he's going to run that. He's going to run it on third downs, on his money downs. He's going to run it when, hey, it's the fit is at the Shan. We're going to go 11. If they ever get down in games, you'll notice I'm running 11. But 12 personnel is usually the second. It is has been the second most utilized personnel grouping. 1 back, 2 tight ends. 11 personnel is 1 back, 1 tight end. And the numbers for it, at least the last 3 years or so, because the highest rate of 12 personnel and 11 personnel came this past season. You were over 55%, 11 personnel. You were over 37%, 12 personnel. I mean, you didn't have any 6-0 line package. You didn't run a lot of wildcat. I mean, you were pretty much relegated to just those 2 personnel groupings. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. But I think, having a little bit of variety and diversity in offense helps. In 2022, you were at 25% 12 personnel. At 50% 11 personnel. You were at 75% between 11 and 12 personnel. And you're at your highest usage of the pony package, which was you were over 10%. It's the only time Sark's been over 10% in his pony package use since he's been at Texas. Was in 2022. Now, with the departure of Malik Agbo, who was your 6th offensive lineman, right? He was that jumbo tight end in that Big 11, Big 12 package. And by the way, guys, I love the Big 11, Big 12 package. I've been tracking it. I got the numbers on the Big 11, Big 12 package. It was actually one of your most explosive passing personnel groupings, right? You averaged in 2023 over 11.5 yards per attempt out of your Big 11, Big 12 package, 7.7 yards per play. Now, your yards per rush actually went down from 2022 to 2023 in your Big 11, Big 12 package. You were at 5.1 in 2022. You were at a little under 4.9 in 2023. But Sark figured something out. He figured out, I'm using the Big 11, Big 12 package for the wrong reasons. He was using it to try to bully teams. He wanted to play bully ball with the extra offensive lineman. We got 1,000 pounds of man, whatever it is, 1,500 pounds of beef up here, 1,800 pounds of beef up here. We're going to be able to push you out of the way, right? We play bully ball with our big humans. And he realized it wasn't going to work. Why? Because teams match personnel. So defenses, when you go with a 6 offensive lineman, what do? They go, man, we got to bring more beef. We got to bring more defensive linemen, more defensive front guys on the field. And they would match Texas, and Texas still couldn't necessarily play bully ball. And they only averaged 6.4 yards per attempt doing that in 2022. He brought on Brett Bielema. I think Brett Bielema told him, dude, you got to use this for a different reason, right? And that's when he gets back to an old saying that my boy Kyle Shanahan, I think, likes, is that you present power personnel packages and pivot to play action pass principles, which is what they did in 2023. So you present power and defense goes, oh, power. We got to put D linemen on the field, put more linebackers on the field. And then you go, all right, then let's pivot to play action pass while you got, defensive front guys on the field and fewer, coverage defenders on the field. And we just going to throw it. And Sark, that's exactly what he did in 2023. And they had an 18% explosive play rate out of Big 11, Big 12, over 11.5 yards per attempt. Present power personnel packages and pivot to play action pass principles. And the same thing works, by the way, in the pony package too. So my thing is, I don't know if you're going to actually run the 6-0 line package anymore because you don't have Malik Agbo. No, I know that Jaden Chapman is another guy I believe that can be the 6th offensive lineman. I'm not sure they're even using it. They didn't use it last season. I don't know why. And I can't, predict that they're going to use it this season. You do, like I said, the last time he had this much unproven commodities, uncertainty at tight end, they actually use a lot more variety in personnel groupings, more pony, more wildcat, more Big 11, Big 12. And since, I guess Sark has decided to, double down or at least invest more in 11 and 12, we've seen less variety. I think that's a bit of a mistake, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But I don't know if we're going to see. Usually you would see more Big 11. I'm not sure. I think we'll see more pony. And that's always a good thing, right? Pony package, your most explosive, your most efficient, and your most successful, in my opinion, effective personnel grouping since Sark has been here. Your yards per play in pony, 5.8, 6.8, 9 yards per play, and then 7.4. You've been excellent in the pony package. No reason not to use more of it, especially if you're going to be really deep at running back, which we all expect. If, knock on wood, guys stay healthy, they're going to be really deep at running back. So a CJ Baxter, Trey Wisner pony package, Give it to me all day, every day. Your explosive play rate out of pony, 16%, 21%, 25%, 13.8%. It's explosive, right? Even last year when you didn't have a lot of guys. So you're making more pony. I would love to see more 6-0 line. Don't know if you're going to get it with the departure of Malik Agbo. We'll have to see. You probably will get more 11 personnel. Like I said, last year, Sark played more 11 personnel than he's ever played. He's probably going to play even more of it without if they don't have the variety. But even if they do have a little bit more, I still think Sark is going to lean more on 11 personnel. Also, I'll throw this out there too, because I think ultimately for Texas, and I'll kind of end it here, I like variety. I want Sark to have more diversity in the offense, and we're actually going away from more diversity. Like we didn't, like I said, less Wildcat, no Wildcat, no Big 11, Big 12 last year, fewer pony package snaps, but I think that's mostly because they had injuries. So I do think he wants to play more of the pony. But this is why I'll say this, and I'll end it on this note, because I study the NFL a lot, and so does Sark. Sark mentions the NFL a ton. All right, because he studies it. I study it because he studies it. And if you want to look at yards per route run, which is considered the most efficient metric to measure wide receiver productivity or receiver productivity, period. It could be any skill position. When I looked at the NFL from 2020 to 2022, the highest yards per route run came on 6 offensive line packages, 2.98 and 2.90. And the third highest yards per route run for receivers in 21 personnel and in 22 personnel. And the reason I think it is because, like I said, defenses, they think run when you go heavy. You present power, personnel packages, and I think a lot of teams are smart enough to pivot to play action pass principles. So that's why I think more pony and more 6 offensive line packages actually won't have a negative effect. I think Sark understands now that you can use it in the passing game as a way to kind of manipulate the mindset of defenses. One other thing, too, about personnel diversity, and I say this in the league as well. If you look at EPA per play, that's expected points added per play, really, advanced analytical metric. The teams with a higher, since 2016, actually, if you go look at it, each personnel grouping added to an offense increased their EPA per play at a linear rate, which means offense that used 3 or more personnel groupings, they actually had a higher EPA per play. You see, they were more efficient than teams who used 3 or fewer personnel groupings. So basically what they're trying to say is that the more personnel groupings you use, the higher your EPA, the more efficient of an overall offense you're going to be, which I totally agree with. If you go look at it, the personnel that into just basic football theory, if you run a lot of personnel groupings and mix it with a lot of different formations, you just force opposing defenses to have to study all of those personnel groupings to prepare for a game. When practice time is limited by CBAs and by NCAA rules, you will force them to have to either really shrink down the amount of data and the amount of material that you want to prepare for and scheme up for, and then just guess at what you're going to use and take a highly educated one, or have to prepare for everything you're doing. And then by nature, be a little ill-prepared for everything. Here's a quote from an NFL director of analytics. He said, if defenses prepare for an offense by primarily studying each personnel group separately, the more groups an offense uses that a defense prepares for, the quality of preparation will naturally decrease as time is a constraint. Period. Force them to chase ghosts. They won't know what you're doing because they got to prepare for so much stuff. that's really at the crux of why I think personnel diversity and variety are important. And so I'm hoping, I like that, Sark loves 12 personnel. That's his baby. Like I said, the average is about 33% 12 personnel since he's been here. The average for 11 personnel is around 52%. So, like 85% of your offense is pretty much 11 and 12 since Sark has been here. And he kind of throws in 21 personnel, maybe throw in a little, Big 11, Big 12, but that's the most of it. I'm hoping this year that he gets back to Big 11, Big 12, more pony, Wildcat. I don't even know if they have somebody that can be the Wildcat quarterback for him. Maybe it's a guy like Michael Terry. I think they should get back to more personnel diversity. I think that'll be one of the things that's missing that I think could help the program get to another level. All right, there you go. I went way too long, but I apologize to you guys. I meant to keep it short, but I started rambling and I can't stop. All right, let's thank our sponsor one more time. Thank our friends over at Von Lane. We appreciate Von Lane. Von Lane, folks, they are the only way to travel between major Texas cities. If you're trying to get to Austin or trying to get to Houston, I've taken the Von Lane actually several times. I've taken it to DFW. I've taken it to Houston as well. It is amazing. I love it. It is basically it's a luxury private jet on wheels. As a matter of fact, that's what they call it. That's how I describe it. You can sink into a plush leather seat with a leg rest. Stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi. Enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. If you need to freshen up, you can indulge in hot towel service. If you want to relax, they got eye masks and pillows and blankets to keep you cozy. They take care of everything so you can sit back, relax, unwind, and enjoy the most luxurious travel experience on the road today. So if you're planning a special trip, guys trip, gals trip, bachelor party, bachelorette party, football game, concert, or special event, you can charter your own Von Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Von Lane, first class travel without the hassle. See for yourself and visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com and use the promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip with Von Lane. Thank you very much to Von Lane for sponsoring Sunday School with Rod Babers. And thank you, guys out there, for your suggestions. You named the show. All right. So it is officially a show of the people, for the people, and by the people. All right. For Matthew behind the scenes, the real MVP, I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, look 'em Horns.